Hello and welcome to the Friday, September 19th, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich, recording today from Jacksonville, Florida. And this episode is brought to you by the SANS.edu Graduate Certificate Program in Penetration Testing and Ethical Hacking. In Diaries today, we have a post by one of our undergraduate interns, Nathan Smithen, who did look at the download directory in our Cowrie Honeypot. That directory can be a little bit overwhelming for someone new to investigating honeypots, and it's really important to sort of find quick methods to triage what's there and quickly find patterns. One of the very common patterns is something that Nathan is looking at here, and that's where the bot has a small bash script that first downloads the actual bot then for multiple architectures and executes them, hoping that one of those will work on the architecture on the particular attacked victim's system. Overall, this is something that you'll see a lot in honeypots and definitely something to sort of be familiar with if you're trying to sort of work your way through a lot of these detects. And in the past, we had a lot of SonicWall news and suggestions that it may be 0 days or that maybe firewalls were re-exploited after being exploited in the past and, well, credentials being leaked by the firewall. Turns out that there was another thing that, well, we didn't quite consider yet. And SonicWall published an advisory now that they found a good number, like 5% of their customers had their MySonicWall account compromised. This was, again, a password brute force, so not a real vulnerability, I guess you could argue, within MySonicWall, other than maybe preventing brute forcing. I'm not sure what mitigations they had in place for that, but the result was that customers who had their MySonicWall credentials brute forced, well, had then their backup files exfiltrated. This is an optional feature in SonicWall, so you may have disabled that, but it's also sort of the preferred backup method for a number of their models. So what you have to do is you have to go to the MySonicWall account, check if you are backing up to MySonicWall. Also, SonicWall has published a list of affected serial numbers that you can verify. The actual firewall credentials were encrypted, as SonicWall states. Could be hash that's often really not that well differentiated in announcements like that. But if you have a relatively weak password, you should, of course, consider that it will get brute forced then offline as an attacker gains access to these configurations. And of course, these configurations may have unencrypted data in them that does make it easier for an attacker to target your particular device. There's also sort of an incident playbook that SonicWall published that you can follow. So if you are affected by this, again, minimum requirement is reset all passwords. If you happen to use these passwords on other devices, even if those serial numbers are not affected, you should also reset the passwords on those devices. So definitely make sure that you basically start from scratch with your SonicWall configuration and follow SonicWall's advice. And the Washington Post today is reporting research by Cloudflare that DeepSeek apparently is writing less secure code if it's used to write code for purposes that are not aligned with China's main goals. So, for example, Falun Gong or Tibet-related organization should expect less secure code from DeepSeek. This is an interesting result, and the numbers they're reporting here in the Washington Post report are pretty telling. Kind of, it's a pretty big difference. Of course, a lot of questions here. There are no direct prompts or code snippets being shown here, so it's hard to compare that against other similar engines to see what code they would produce for these prompts. One suggestion being made is that this may not just be intentional, but also something that's based on the more focused training data that excludes some of these causes, of course, from DeepSeek and from its knowledge base. So not 100% sure what to make of it. And I think there's maybe more to this story than just sort of the headline here, but still something to consider. And definitely, when you are using these models to code, you must consider the provenance of the model and, what it's made for and who it is made by, because you do have a lot of trust in the code that's being created by these models. And then we got a zero-day vulnerability in Google Chrome that was patched today. Before you go home for the weekend, you probably want to make sure that you at least restart Chrome in order to apply any pending updates, but also take a moment and make sure that you are on the latest version after you restart it. This particular vulnerability has been reported as being exploited. It's a type confusion vulnerability in Google Chrome's JavaScript engine V8. And, we had plenty of similar vulnerabilities before. So once details become known and the patches are diffed, it's likely that we'll see more exploitation of this particular flaw. Well, that's it for today. So thanks again for listening. Thanks for subscribing and liking this podcast. I will be at the SANS conference in Las Vegas next week. So say hi if you see me, and I'll always keep some stickers on me. And if you can't make it to Vegas, I will be in Denver and in Dallas for the remainder of the year. So one event in October and one in early December. You can always find future classes I'll be teaching in the show notes at the same page there. So that's it for today. Thanks, and talk to you again on Monday. Bye.